My dzongkha is terrible. You don't want to hear my dzongkha. If I try my dzongkha, and especially if I teach, it always ends up going into Tibetan. Then it becomes really strange. Also, I was told that I should be speaking in English because there are some other aliens listening to this. Okay. Can you hear? I can hear echo. Okay, good. You can't hear? Oh. You mean you can't hear echo or you can't hear me? You can hear? It's okay now? Better? Okay, I'll be shouting whole time. No problem. Okay. So, I was asked to do this, give you some ideas on Monlam. I have requested the organizers to project Changshu Samba Kundu Zangpo, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, not to be mistaken with the Samantabhadra of the Nyingmapa tradition, the blue naked Buddha. Obviously, this is not naked. I can say no. Yeah, okay. For some peculiar reason, us in Himalayas, like Tibet, Bhutan, I don't know, Nepal, we do a lot of this. When we do prayers, one of the most popular or favored or treasured prayer we use, that prayer liturgy, is Zangche Monlam Pranidhana Raja. We do this a lot, and also during this time, the global peace prayer, big part of the ceremony is occupied by doing this very Zangche Monlam. But for some strange reason, us here in the Himalayas, also in Bhutan, Changshu Samba Kundu Zangpo is not so much depicted, right? We are quite familiar with Jenrezik, Avalokiteshvara, we are familiar with Manjushri, Aryatara, of course we are familiar with the Padmasambhava. But for some reason, this guy, not really depicted. And I mean, forget Bhutan, even India, it's very hard to get the representation of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, I have realized. And that's kind of interesting because it's a kind of an important bodhisattva, by the way. Just as how we know Manjushri is for wisdom, Avalokiteshvara is for compassion, Aryatara is for protection, so on and so forth. This bodhisattva is revered, venerated, and treasured for making your prayer materialize, so to speak. Okay? And not only that, this is just very, very simplified, very simplistic way. But more importantly, there's a sutra called Avatamsaka Sutra. We have that in the Bhutanese, library, Kanjur. It's called Dode Palpoche. And it's one of the most important Mahayana Sutra. I believe that some artist has been doing some work in the National Library or something like that. Anyway, just to give you some vague picture for the children, or I don't know, the younger generation, I have a friend. mm, I, okay. I have a friend in California. He's no more with us. I mean, passed away a few years ago. And he was an expert. He was expert with Avatamsaka Sutra. And he used to always say, Avatamsaka Sutra is like a Buddhist version of Star Wars. And like Star Wars, only much grandiose, much more drama, so on and so forth. And in the Avatamsaka Sutra, this bodhisattva plays a very important role. In fact, in the Avatamsaka Sutra, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva is almost like an indispensable theme with Manjushri. I don't think we have a time to go through all the Avatamsaka Sutra stories, and I think some of you should at least read summary of the story. It's a beautiful, really beautiful story. It's very touching. I don't know, just very dramatic also. But of course, the classic Avatamsaka Sutra is very long, classic language, classic expression. But anyway, this bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, is quite popular in China, as well maybe in Korea, in Japan, and also in fact, in China, there's one big, very special mountain called Mount Ame, Omishan, something like that, dedicated only for this bodhisattva. Anyway, the bodhisattva riding an elephant. Elephant represents strength, memory, wisdom, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to get Himalayan friends, Bhutanese friends, to just get familiar with at least the Jangchu Sempa Kundu Zambo. So that's sort of my prologue, okay? Now, for the actual Monlam. Now, some of you have been, I can see, some of you have been listening to wherever I speak. So some of you, this may be like a broken record, but I need to speak this for the benefit of all those who have not heard. Language is very language is an issue here. I'm speaking English, I'm trying, and the word prayer, global peace, prayer, the English word prayer is definitely not doing justice to the Sanskrit word pranidhana or choke Monlam. So this is something that you need to really know, okay? Because I think if you are understanding the word prayer, Monlam, as in the prayer that you have been taught in the English schools, in the context of some convent, missionary schools, etc., then I think you will not really appreciate the depth and the width of the Samantabhadra's Monlam Pranidhana. So this is something I will try to articulate this time. I'll try, because Monlam is a really big subject. You know, in the Mahayana tradition, they talk about the 10th bhumi, 10 stages of the bodhisattvas. And I think it is 8th or the 9th Bodhisattva's specific practice is aspiration or the Monlam. So it's not a, it's a very, very important paramita practice. Okay. So, pranidhana has several meanings, quite a lot of meanings. As usual, Sanskrit, very rich language. It has all kinds of, sometimes even contradictory meaning. Just like the word tathagata, which is loosely translated in Turkey as Dijin Shekpa. Tathagata could mean thus come. And simultaneously, it also means thus gone. You can see how Sanskrit is so rich. The one word can mean both go and come, depending on how you use, right? So with this, pranidhana has a meaning of application. It could mean application. It could also mean something like a respectful behavior towards something. That is one connotation. And then there's also something even more interesting, and this is something, if we do have time, I mean, we don't have much time, but even if you don't have time today, something those who are serious about this, you should really explore this particular definition. And the definition of the pranidhana is something to do with a renunciation of the fruit of an action. Now, this is a very, very, we will talk about it. I will try to talk about it. As usual, when you hear the Buddhist teachings, you need to really appreciate paradoxes. Really, really important. And especially Mahayana Buddhism, lots of paradoxes. And of course, the Tantric Buddhism, so much paradoxes. And I will tell you one paradoxes now. So, Buddhists are known to talk about no attachment, no desire, no attachment. Some of you may have heard about it, like no attachment. Yet, when you do prayer, obviously there has to have some desire. You want something, right? I pray for this, I pray for that. So obviously you are talking about a desire, you are talking about some sort of a wish. So what's that? So what are we doing here? There's a paradoxy. I will try to use some of the stanza of the Pranidhana Raja, which is I think it's the sort of the last chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra, just to give you sort of a vague picture, I guess. Oh yeah, then, okay. We also hear Buddhists always say everything, all compounded and all emotions, all kleshas are dukkha. Reality of life, or the reality or the truth of samsara is a dukkha. And the reality or the truth, meaning you cannot alter, you cannot change. That's the reality. It's a bit like you cannot wash charcoal hoping that it will become white. The reality of the charcoal is it's black. No matter what kind of soap you use, it will always be black. So reality of life, samsara, is suffering, is imperfect, etc., etc. But then we talk about prayer. What are we praying for? If it is the reality, if that is what we are stuck with, then why we even pray? See? So there's that kind of paradoxy. And so you can also, I guess you can say, so is prayer just a wishful thinking? Is it just an etiquette? Is it something nice to do? As in, we wish happy birthday. That's like, it's really, if you decipher birthday wishes, is ridiculous, because actually you should be mourning on that day because you are getting 1 year older than the previous one. You should be all crying, but then we make such a big hoo-ha about birthday. So is it something like that? Is Buddhist prayer, Monlam, is it something like just wishful thinking, like a cultural etiquette? Something to think about. And then another thing, and this is something to do with the word prayer. If you are not understanding the word pranidhana, as in what I have tried to explain earlier, then the word prayer alone could lead you to some misunderstanding, such as, usually when we do prayers, we always seem to think in terms of a higher being. I will pray to so-and-so, someone who is more mightier, more powerful, more omnipotent, more omniscient, someone who knows what he or she is doing. And then we pray to these people to sort out our mess, so to speak. So is that the case here? Is that what we are doing? So this is one, I think, an important question that we can ask. By the way, I have received so many questions. I will try to sort of incorporate, but also I think there's more questions coming. If we do have time, we will try to cover this, but I don't know. Okay. Prayer, among many, pranidhana, Monlam. So, Monlam, right? Monlam. So the word Monlam also indicates prayer is a means, is not an end, because it's a lam. Lam, you walk over the lam, and that is not the end. That's not your destination. You use the lam or the road so that you are supposedly, you will reach to wherever you are trying to reach. Already enlightened, you see? So, as you can see, the Mahayana is, I will try to come into this. Okay, then another one is like, hey, kedan ludang nujingi dumdada mi kenam doakunji dagi danam jisamba tamchi kedu dagi chötento. This is such an important verses. I shall speak heavenly, godly heavenly language, Naga language. I shall speak Rakshasa, sort of demon's language. I shall speak ghost language, and I shall speak that, and not only language, I shall actually utter sound that gets appreciated or that gets received as a message by all kinds of beings. And using this, I shall share the truth. But this is a very, what do you call it? Just anyway, right now I'm talking about determination. So Monlam is something to do with the determination. Okay? So in this context, earlier I was saying, usually when we do prayer, there seems to be always this idea that you are praying to somebody who is mightier or bigger than you, which is also accepted, by the way. This is why we have shrines and we have the Buddha statues, we have the visualizations, etc., etc. But in the Mahayana Buddhism, actually, it is not so much praying to somebody up there. It is this determination, generating the determination that I will do this. I alone will do this. So generating the determination, okay? Now, very important question one can ask. On what ground does the prayer work? So let's say you are baking a bread. If you are baking bread, the flour and what do you call it? Yeast, right? Yeast. They don't remotely look like a bread. Flour is a flour, powdery yeast. I don't know how they actually look like. I think I've seen a yeast somewhere. But anyway, the yeast looks like a yeast, flour, water. I don't know, egg, all of that. Do they use egg? No. Sorry. So they don't remotely look like a bread. But someone who is good at baking bread has this complete confidence. With the right attitude, with the right baking, with the right, timing, bakery, machine, whatever, the oven, whatever, you can already plan. Come tonight, I'm baking something. And you already can plan. You can already plan the bread, the slices of the bread, the cheese, onion, whatever you are going to do. You understand? So there is this determination, or what do you call it? There is a ground. You have this ground, or what do you call it? You can assume. You can assume. You can expect the bread. So on what ground we are believing that our prayer will work. Our prayer will work. Now we need to decipher this word also. What do we mean by work? What does it mean? Work. Because supposedly all the Buddhas of the past, they've done prayers. So what does work mean? Does it mean that, okay, whoever have done some prayers, may there be no, war, may there be no sickness, may there be no this and that, or the ailment. If the past Buddhas have done that, and this is the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and since they are sublime beings, their prayer should work. Well, looks like it hasn't worked. Because we have wars, we have ailment, we have all sorts of problems. So we should also really think about what does it mean by work? So these are the things, yes. And then another one. This is an important one. And all these are related, by the way, interrelated. But since it's such a big subject, probably I'm confusing you more than clarifying. But let's see. So, okay. So, for how long should we pray? Right? It's a very important question. This time, 6, 7 days? Is it? And we usually do every day, maybe, some of us. How long should we do this? Well, according to the Zangje, what does he say? Namki tartuk jurba jisamba samjen malu thaya dejinde jisam le don yamon thajuba dag mionam thaya desama. From this stanza, no end. Sentient beings are limitless, like a sky. Where there is a sentient beings, there is a limitless emotions. Likewise, my aspiration. So now you can see, I'm just giving you a little taste of how Pranidhana works. So it's a really, it should not be taken as a very, it's not a simple act, okay? And then, of course, what should we pray for? What are we praying for? What is the most important for you? Well, yeah, of course, long life, lots of money, I don't know, whatever, success in this and that. But from the Pranidhana's point of view, chances is that they will not really work. Okay, to begin with, okay, I pray you live long. I do, actually. I do pray you live long. But there's many questions for that. What do we mean by live long? Maybe 5 minutes more? Maybe that's all you need, right? Maybe that's all you can handle. What do we mean by live long? You want to live long, 100 years? Are you really sure? Are you serious? You really want to? See, do you really? So, and the long and the short and all of this are very, very subjective. Just because it's long does not necessarily mean it's better. Long can be also a lot of different things. So praying for something like this, like longevity, wealth, all of this can be, I'm not saying that you should not. By all means you should. But what I'm saying is that it is more, I think if you are doing a business, you should really be working for the profit, not the bonus. You understand? Because if you get distracted by the bonus, it can really ruin the strategy to make profit. So these like longevity, success in this and that, fame, whatever, it could be a bonus. Yeah, so I have asked some of these questions which actually came from, I guess, the audience here, audience elsewhere. Very important questions. So, let's go back to the bread. Okay? Bread. The fact that when we see the yeast, the flour, the water, whatever, the oven, you have this belief that bread is possible, more than possible. You can almost say it's done. So with this, using this as an example, when the Mahayana people do the prayers, such as the Zangje Monlam, what we are doing is we are looking at all sentient beings, every sentient beings. So I hope the organizers are not going to be too upset, But I would say even this time, we have named this festival as what? Global Peace Prayer, right? Global Peace. Strictly from the Mahayana point of view, it's a wrong title. What is globe? Globe is just this round thing, right? How many continents are there? 5 continents? That's nothing. That's like the smallest. So here, Dulcik Tengna Dunye Sanjanam, it says, for the Mahayana, beyond the globe, aliens, all sentient beings, we are supposedly praying for that. So anyway, sentient beings, the Mahayana attitude is like this. For the Mahayana attitude is, sentient beings are like a flower, like a yeast. Okay? Sentient beings have the Buddha nature. So let's say this guy, the Samantabhadra, he's looking. Samantabhadra never sees even one sentient being that will not become enlightened. Because the real, the ingredient, if you like, the potential of being enlightened, sentient beings have. All you need to do is you need to be a bit savvy in baking it, putting it together. This is doable. So going back to praying for long life, yeah, maybe longest 100 years or 200 years. Now with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, I heard that they're cooking for something, I don't know, to live 150 years or something like that. Yes, but anyway, yes, maybe we could live long, but still, beside whether you really wish to live this long or not, you will still exhaust, right? You will still, they will come for an end. End is a big part of a life anyway, you know. Even world peace. Really? Possible? It will be all of that. Copper oven. You can just magically somewhere in the... If you are lacking with a flour, no bread. Likewise, as long as there is a sentient beings, that's why namki thaduk juba jisam ba semchen malu thayang dejin de jisam le dang yemo thajib ba dag manam thayang that's so when the Mahayana people say I will pray until all sentient beings are enlightened, they are not bluffing. They are not at all bluffing. It's a bit like this nice bakery person who will just look at the bread, a flour, yeast, and say, oh, just rest. Bread is done. Understand? It's like, consider is done. That is the kind of the determination and the, attitude with a pranidhana. So here you can see, you actually don't really need a higher being to make it happen. You don't need a higher being to, make the bread happen. That's what I'm saying. As long as there's all that thing, the yeast, flour, all there, and you know how to do it, the bread is considered done. Likewise, yes, limitless sentient beings, full of emotion, anger, desire, jealousy, etc., but as long as they are sentient being, 99% of awakened state is achieved, finished, considered done. That's why the Mahayana people have the Mahayana, not just Mahayana, all the, the confidence, let's call it confidence of the prayer is based on this. Okay, so what was it? Some other questions that I was raising earlier. Okay, so now, remember I was talking about the peace, global peace. Is it even possible? So, in the Chöke Dharma language, Shiva, Shiva, Nyangele Depani Shiva wo. Or sometimes we also use the word Nyangenle De, meaning gone beyond or limitation. That's what Nyangenle De means. So anyway, I know peace can mean a lot of different things for a lot of people, right? Peace, harmony, peace. A lot of people think that if everybody does whatever Washington says, then you will achieve peace. I'm trying to provoke a little bit. And by and large, a big part of the world has been doing whatever Washington has been asking. But that hasn't really achieved much peace. In fact, the other way. In fact, we have more war, more conflict. If you rewind our history, we know this very well. So, what kind of peace are we talking about? In Buddhism, Shiva, the peace, actually is not, of course, no war would be nice. No domestic fight would be nice. No international fight would be nice. That's a bonus. If you have it, fantastic. If you don't have it, not that of a big deal. I'm telling you, for the Buddhists, okay? So for the Buddhists, peace is really, quintessence of the peace is non-duality. I know this is a bit hard to chew, but basically, as long as you have a duality, you will always be in extreme. You will always fall into extreme. And as long as you fall into extreme, that in itself is violence. Extreme is violence. Duality is the great-great-great-grandmother of violence. Non-duality is the peace. So this is why in Buddhism, they don't talk about ultimate good or ultimate bad. A very, very important quotation, I will quote Chandrakirti, which I will very, very loosely translate, okay, is this. And many of you are quite familiar with me quoting this all the time. Anyway, the quotation is something like this: if you are an idiot, you will do something bad and then go to hell. Okay? That's easy to understand. Now, prepare for the next sentence. Very important sentence. If you are an idiot, you will do good things and then go to heaven. Idiot. It's very important. Only if you are wise, you will go beyond good and bad and achieve liberation. Such is the attitude of Mahayana. And this is the sort of the backbone of the peace that the Buddhists are talking about. Non-duality, very, very important for Mahayana Buddhism. So this is why the Buddhists don't have concepts such as excess of evil. I have to point that out. It may annoy some people, but also Buddhists don't have moral alliance. It's really important that you know. I don't know, somehow I just want to say this, so it came in my mind, so I have to say this. For Buddhists, for the Mahayana people, the people who live in this house called, what is it? The name of the house, Sadabad complex. Sadabad complex, do you know, in Iran? So for Mahayana Buddhists, people who live in Sadabad complex in Iran are not less or more evil than those who live in 10 Downing Street. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying, but I'm being a little bit sarcastic here. Basically, what I'm saying is that the Buddhists don't see people who live in Iran, this government complex, is not necessarily less or more evil than people who live in London, 10 Downing Street. The concept of non-duality is like the essence of the peace. So, for Buddhism, especially in the Mahayana Buddhism, this peace is achieved, especially by the beginners. When the beginners are used to this idea that there's nothing but an opinion, everything is just a projection. And this is actually the sort of the most quintessential subject of the Avatamsaka Sutra. It really talks about the amazing projection of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas and the, but this is very, very difficult for us to understand because we cannot understand, we cannot think that things are just your projections, especially if your projections and if your opinions are validated by large amount of consensus, But this is very, very subjective because just because 8 billion human beings believe that water is a water, actually, it doesn't mean much. There is only 8 billion people deciding water is a water. There's like how many trillion fish who thinks this is something else? So many times the consensus doesn't even matter. But anyway, if we could just appreciate, if we can understand that everything is just our projection, everything is just our opinion, then you are beginning to have a very important tool or a condition to do the aspiration. Aspirations. So this is why in the aspiration of the Papa Zambuji Bimalam, it begins with amazing visualizations, if you like the word visualizations, and the projections, like one atom Buddhas, numbers of the Buddhas that is equal to the atom of the earth sitting on one atom, and this original atom not becoming bigger, small still, and each of these Buddhas also haven't been accommodated themselves to, enter into the small atom, so on and so forth. And then also in the prayer we have things like we aspire to understand one eon as a one moment as one eon. This, I think, you can understand this. Maybe at least in a kind of a mediocre level. Try to spend in a prison cell for about 5 minutes. You will feel like 5 weeks or something. I have a nice time with a friend for 5 hours, and the 5 hours goes by just like that. So you can see time is totally an illusion. And knowing that, if you know that, here we are praying, may all sentient beings, all of them, be enlightened. We will not be bogged down by this fear. Oh, really? How long does that take? Even for one sentient being, it takes like aeons and eons. But for the Mahayana people, eons, moment, it's a total illusion. It's how you look at it. So such is the sort of the backbone of the, what do you call it? Aspiration. I better look at the time. Am I doing all right with the time? How much time do I have? Oh, yeah. Okay. A little bit more, and then if we have time, we can go through some questions. So, so these are what we call sort of very small glimpse of Mahayana aspiration or infinite way. So this is why I'm sharing this. So there is this question, I was doing the prayer yesterday, and what was my aspiration? What is it that I personally wished for? What was the aspiration for me, for the world? From me. So, yeah, I actually did have a kind of a clear aspiration when I was doing the prayer yesterday. I wanted to really, really I really prayed, aspired, wished that human beings will have empathy. More than anything, empathy. I think, like, when I say empathy, I'm talking about like adults empathizing kids. You can't just dismiss, did look, all that kind of, this is a child's game, empathizing. And vice versa, of course. I wish, I pray, I aspire that we have this empathy, like men have empathy about or with or regarding women, and vice versa. And I empathize, I pray that Americans will have empathy with the Russians, and vice versa, of course. And yes, that was my aspiration, that people will have some sort of empathy. I think the empathy is such an important value. Basically, the ability to put your feet in someone else's shoes, I pray. And to conclude what I say here, I pray, and I'm quoting great Master Jigme Lingpa. I pray that that 100 things that you wish will never come true. And but I wish that 1,000 things that you dare not wish come true. You understand? Dare not wish come true. Okay. Yes, so that's about it. Do you want to ask questions? I think we have covered quite a lot of the questions that came to me, but if you want, yeah, maybe one or two more.
Okay. Last Chair, there's one question that says, technology aims to make us live longer and comfortably, while Buddhism teaches us to detach from all of this. Will these two paths ultimately conflict?
Of course. Of course. And but what is there that is not conflicting? There's almost nothing in our life, in so-called worldly life, that is not conflict. And conflict is important for the economy. Imagine, actually, there is a world peace and there's no conflict. Economy will go down. Don't you think? I may sound like I don't believe in this world peace. No, I do. I'm just telling you that global world have a different connotation for different people. As someone who is a follower of Mahayana, we should also look at so-called global or the world much in a grandiose way. And also, of course, I would very much like to have a peace and harmony in our home, in our nation, in our village, in our country, in the world. But also, it would be better, or I don't know, it's more importantly, people should really aspire for not going into extreme. And way to do so is by really educating ourselves, thinking that everything is just our projection. Really, there's no reason to be that, extreme and that fanatical. After all, it's just your projections. Okay? Any more?
The second question is, Rinpoche, my father insists me on joining Monlams in person, but I prefer through TV or online platforms. So is it really necessary to join Monlam in person, La?
I think I will say no, but it's not for all of you, okay? Only for whoever is asking this. Because I'm worried that whoever is asking this person will end up not doing both. And I don't, please, do it online while you are taking shower, doing whatever you are doing. Yeah, that's good, that's good. It's very admirable. Yes. One more. and then-
Lasla. Rinpoche, while doing aspiration prayers, most often I feel like I am faking it. Is it normal? Will it ever lead to a genuine feeling? Any shortcuts? La?
Oh, very good question. This is important, really important. You have to fake. Faking is similar to the earlier one, isn't it? At least you are faking it. Otherwise, you will opt not doing at all. That's much worse. And by the way, this is not me being smart here. This is actually written in the text. If you ever read some of the Buddhist texts, right at the beginning, first line almost, Ngenjungi lo che, or sometimes they even call it things like che rim, which actually has the connotation of faking it, like, like cultivating it, fabricating it. Because you need to get used to that value. Okay, you already kind of intellectually believe that value. But the reason why, even though you know, let's say you know the benefit of quitting smoke. It's bad for health, it's bad for your lungs, it's bad for the environment, etc., etc. You know this very well. You in fact teach this to others, but you smoke because you are addicted to it. So now you want to quit it. So I think the first step is the faking it. Like, okay, only 2 cigarettes, but then you end up smoking 3. And then you try to reduce by faking, like that. I think I will say it's a good way, but of course, knowing that you are faking, you will also have the urge to make it a little bit better and more genuine, hopefully. Okay, so to make this gathering worthwhile, because everything what I just is just, it's just blabbering. There's nothing much. You can forget all of this. But anyway, to make this gathering worthwhile, I'm going to read the Pranidhana Raja. Okay, so Jagarketu Arya Bhattacharya Pranidhana Raja Bhavaketu Papa Sambuchi Bimalam Jichabo Papa Jambachunu Chubala Chatsalo Genius the Chuju Jidin Mishiba Mason Dagi Malita Tamji Ludang Dami Chajo Sambuchi Bimalam Dodagi Javatam Jichimusum Shingidun Europe by Jawagana Durjik Tengna Dunye Sanjanam Sanje Sejun the Churching Namaliba Tamje Dagi Javadaki Dang Akban Zichas Yanji and not just drinking Jawa Pinji and they were Shibatam Jitagi Methodam, but Tomatam, but the senior Lujudu, Mamechu to Vitam by Jawa de Dalan, Cheberji, Nazam, Nam, the teacher, the Chimapumari, but the Gavich of Pavichuk in Jawa de Dalan, Cheberji. Chebakan Alameja, the Javatam Jalam, Zambojo, the bit of the Jawakuna, Chasar Cheberji, the Chashan, Timu, Ludan, and the Tiji, the Wadaki. The Datam Jadakis was Chuji Javakan Sanjay said, Ranjanam the Lotam, the Dragon, Sun, the Dakunji, the Kanam Chuji, the Chanjur, and Sanjay. Gumbo the Dada Kitamjala Kolana, Mebako, young and the Kajita, the Dragon, Penji, the Vegabashing to Nishu, Dagi Tamara, which Chasal, Wadam, Church in Shawatam, Jesu, and Gujis, or gave a Junze, which is a Tamje Dagi Chanju. I should at least tell you this. In the beginning of the Zangche Monlam, there's something called Yanla Dumba, this 7-branch practice, which is basically a practice of accumulation of merit. Now, there's a kind of an important message in this. It means this good heart is it's a very, very, very rare. Even between a brother and a sister, and I don't know, father, mother, good heart, kind heart is so difficult. And it's so precious. Once in a blue moon, you will have this good heart. Sort of kind of I don't know. It could be a music, it could be something. It could trigger. So this is so precious. Even just general good heart. Now here we are talking about incredibly, what do you call it, just the highest level of good heart, right? Because here we are not only talking about the good heart of, giving food and shelter and medicine and consultation. I don't know. We are not only talking about that kind of good heart. We are talking about good heart to awaken all beings. Now that is very, very difficult. Even to hear, so this is why I was saying faking is important. Even to hear, even to have this text, I will read it later. Even to have it as a text, you may never read it at all. Even then, even that is so already very, very good, supposedly. So, so because of that, we need merit so that we will have kind heart and good heart and all of that. So in order to accumulate merit, we have things like prostrations, making offerings, lambs, so that's, so let me just finish reading. tumbar juji rawan rupa chanchi chupa tanda juwa sarab kundu chimpa chan tadu tanda jao kri jisu sangpo chupa yonsu tsurim chupa chumi tadu mani chime chupa chilayi kida udan ujingi tupum tata mii kananda ruwa kunji taka jisu tamche kida dagi chuda deshin paru china rabzor chanchi sani nayan chima jita bakana rupa chupa tata mara yonsu chama lada nyama duji lan rojin jitan ruwa namzi chita pemo chumi chapa chi inadam ko topa me bache. If only you know the meaning of these verses, even the most cold-hearted will have some tears in your eyes, because this is like really, really like the utmost care, and care to just not only to your loved ones or immediate family members, to everyone that you don't even know. So it's a really, really like I don't know. It's an utmost care, and the wording of the Sangbojibe Manam Palpuchinto, it's so beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. It's also the last chapter of this giant sutra called Avatamsaka Sutra. Please, those who have time, explore this sutra. Nidanam Katupa met the Shingichon Chonajis. Devadara dog and Drawatan Pembe Chanchichaba, Samjan Jotan too much Sangbochatan, the Mount Kabakun, Dag, Tumbakan, that and other Dudan. Jabata, Madam Dala Pember, the River Sangbochaba, the data and thought the data and Name, San Sergio, Javat. Mount Kabakun, Mijatala, and Chibaji, Javanam, the Bichu, the Chanchichaba, Sambochaba, Mount Kabakun, Chibaji. Sibatam to young chronosonomy, and Mrs. Tabasha, things and the Nugi Mrs. and Tunisian. Shing there's some Jimmy Sanji and Sanji says, you know, the Sanji, the Damarichan, Trustman, Sanji, the Shinajas, the Ravajans, Sunji, Javakin, Sanjis on top of Jibaj. To Sumichi Javatam, the Corrigan, the Dagi and Swim, the Lloyd, Mount Kapatan, Gajichi, the Gajichi, to Sumichi, the Dagi. Tadu Tadak in a Jumajiban, kind to Javana young and the Baradjan Gumbukunji to Dacho, continue it to the Gunigate, the Chava, the Chavama vegetable. Shut up to the digital, somebody, Shinajas, some changes of the number of Shinajas, Yishim, Jabajans, Namatas managers, Sanjis, Kayan to Sushi, somebody, Java, Cabat, somebody, Ludang Attention, Chivan, or some cabbage, Kuniki, or somebody, Chambers, Manager, And then I'm just 세종 매버 저거 참에 받아는 이제 다 투바듬 저거지 남게 태도 주고 지선 선지 말도 다 대신데 지선 되면 다기 면함 타야돼서 막 주지나 다 버리지도 라담이 신기도 이거 그냥 전시 좀 이시단에서도 사람들 리당 하다 놓는데 유단 못 되면 되는데 지든 숨바비나 저거 전시 식만도 되니도 손에 선지 빠지되 전시 선지 거 유단되는 저 강양 상보지 보면은 강양 상보지 보면은 창원된 땐도 놓나요 대 넘버 멤버 선지 전주적으로 좀 맞지. So here it says, let's say you you make offerings to the Buddhas with the flowers, incense, water, food, garland, I don't know, all kinds of gifts for eons after eons, and you will have a lot of merit. Yet, even if you possess one word of this Pranidhana Raja, that merit far surpasses the earlier merit. This is the statement of the Samantabhadra. 대한 넘버 멤버 전주로 선생님이 잡아지는 대답이 주소다는 지금 두순십이 저 같은 경우는 다 디바트미다는 지금 것은 남한테 탐지만 되는 대답만 되지 심지어 나한테 주면은 디바만 붙여 생겨 대니들은 그 선바지면 도와동을 추우지만 만남 집에 대다 주 다이로 근조 선바 준비신도 내손 내나 말이 똥버터 쇼. So since you have heard this, if you want to, this is not for everyone, for those who wish, since there's a lot of people who want to tattoo, I'll give you a suggestion for tattoo. You should write this. If you have a lot of space, well, hold Zangche, why not? But maybe you don't have that much. Then, yeah, this one. Namki tatuk juba jizamba semjen malu tayang deshinde jizam ledang yamong tajuba dagi menam tayang desamo. It will fit, I think. Now, if you don't have much space, I have a very short suggestion. Ngensong nenam malu tongparsho, which means may this lower realm be empty. It's quite good, and I think you will have a lot of merit. That's it. Thank you.